These are the two newest autofocus anamorphic lenses. This is the BLAZAR 50mm T1.8, which you could say F1.8 on a classic lens. If you're not sure what they are, I'll explain anamorphic very soon. This is the SIRUI, I think it's called, 40mm T1.8. So they're very similar. The focal lengths are slightly different in terms of size. You can see how different they are. The BLAZAR is a bit wider, but they both support autofocus. We're gonna do some tests today to show you what each lens looks like. We'll film about half the video on the BLAZAR and then the other half on the SIRUI, while doing testing and talking about the testing and switching between the two viewpoints. Supposedly these are good for autofocus, so they'll be able to autofocus with these cameras, and if these are actually worth your money. And I was kind of surprised with the results, so let's get into it.
An anamorphic lens is a specialized lens that compresses the horizontal field of view to capture a wider scene onto a standard camera sensor, creating a distinct aspect ratio, usually 2.39 to 1, and known for its oval bokeh and horizontal lens flares.
An f-stop is measured at the size of the opening at the front of the lens, and that's easy to measure. A t-stop is a bit trickier to measure. It's actually how much light, having passed through the aperture, through the elements in the lens, how much actually gets to your sensor.
Now let's get into how we ran the test.
We have the Sony FX3 with the BLAZAR 50mm stopped down to T1.8. We have the Peter McKinnon, the Helix, whatever, ND filter, so that way it's not too bright. Those are the three things we've connected. So we ran a few tests. The first one was a skyline test, and it's just showing the Empire State Building. And honestly, the thing that I noticed most was the SIRUI just felt a little discolored. It had a bit of purple shade to it. And I wasn't absolutely in love with it. I think the BLAZAR just looks better, but still the detail is not the same when using Sony lenses. Then there's a distortion pan where you can see there's massive distortion in the buildings, even with the cropping and zooming in. Also, I was not in love with that again either. I think we actually have to use the monitor and control app here. Agree, register later, connect to the camera. Okay, there we go. Now this will give us a better view of what we're actually going to be able to use because it's cropping in for us. So we'll turn this sideways, and I'm going to screen record for you so you can see all. So because you can't turn on autofocus with anamorphic de-squeeze on, we have to keep it squeezed, but we have the option to de-squeeze on the iPhone, and then you can mount this on there to actually see your viewpoints. All right, so right now we're on the Sony 50mm 1.2, but we're looking at the app here, and you can see is I have some tools set up. So if I turn this on and off, you can see some things change, some boxes, some warping. So if I tap the tools on the top left, this is monitor and control by Sony. There's two things that are checked: de-squeeze and aspect marker ratio. So de-squeeze is what's de-squeezing it, 1.33x, which is what this lens is supposed to be. And then aspect marker ratio, which anamorphic is 2.39 to 1. So if I turn off the aspect marker ratio, it'll take away those boxes and it'll de-squeeze. So it's now giving me kind of the area that I need to work with. And the only way to use the autofocus and see what I'm actually going to be outputting on my monitor is to use the monitor and control app on my phone with these features on, because I'm going to see that raw data on the FX3. And if I de-squeeze in the FX3, I'll lose autofocus. So now we're going to run the autofocus test with the Sony. If I walk in, it's got a pretty good focusing distance. I am very close to the camera right now. You can see me. How close can I get? You can see all my pores, but this is what it looks like. And now I'm going to walk away, and it should be able to quickly pick me up again if I turn to the camera. Yep, it's putting a box around my head. It figures out where I am. I can easily just walk around and it will be able to pick me. We do have a zone autofocus on, which Zach is actually, you're moving the zone, right? Yeah. So that kind of quadrant, it's about 1/3 of the screen. Zach is moving around depending on where I go. But the autofocus is insanely fast. So now this is where you actually get to see the tools. There is vignetting on the edges. If I turn that off, if I undesqueeze, you'll see how now I'm warped when I'm looking at the iPhone footage right here. And if I actually squeeze it again, now I look normal. So this is where an actual anamorphic lens, you want to see what it looks like normal. And then those bars right there will help me define where that 2.39 is. You can see de-squeeze right there. Great. So now we want to do an autofocus test with the BLAZAR 50mm. Let's do it. So we're going to walk in. And it's pretty good at picking up my face here. This is kind of what the bokeh looks like compared to the Sony 1.2. It does look different. It looks more ovally. The whole world looks more ovally. Now let's walk away. Now I should turn around and hopefully it picks up my face. I think the Sony struggled a little bit. I had to take a couple steps forward. Is it able to find me, oh, there we go. Oh, it lost me. Okay, it found me. All right. Now we're gonna run toward it. Let's see how fast it is. Boom. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right, this is our least favorite lens. The autofocus seemed to be the slowest, but I looked on the watch, it was the best, but on the autofocus on people, it seemed to be mediocre. So let's find out. I'm gonna do the same test. We'll walk up to the lens itself. Am I tripping, or is the autofocus just performing better here? It seems like the autofocus is performing better in this test than whatever test we did before this. So, I don't know, these lenses might actually be pretty good. Now, over here is where we lost it. I'm too far away. Is it able to pick me up? The box is on me, but it's not picking me up. Oh, let me take my glasses off, look up. My glasses on. Oh, it got me. Oh, it lost me. Maybe a little closer. Okay, it got me. So the SIRUI has you need to be the closest to this. This is a 40mm, but I do need to be a bit closer for it to autofocus on my face. Maybe if I run up real fast. How good is it? Okay, pretty good.
You really see the focus.
Yeah. I think also some of these lenses are a bit loud too, but you can't hear them because I'm wearing a lav mic. Yeah, so, okay, so now it seems to work and then not work. Now it's doing the focus breathing jumping thing because it's struggling. Let's go in closer. How about now? Are you able to focus? Okay, now it's better. So the center seems to be much better. On the edges, it struggles extremely. This is autofocus. We can compare now with the other two lenses how it looks when my face is in the middle of the frame, and then we'll run away. We're gonna go straight to the camera and see how fast the autofocus is. Here we go. Boom. Not bad? How'd it look? Decent? Okay, decent. That's the autofocus test. Cool. If I walk in, it's got a pretty good focusing distance. I am very close to the camera right now. And it's pretty good at picking up my face here. This is kind of what the bokeh looks like compared to the Sony 1.2. It does look different. It looks more ovally. The whole world looks more ovally. Now let's walk away. So now I'm gonna go on the edges really far away. Is it able to pick me up at all? It's not. So I'm gonna tap to focus on the phone, right here, tap. But if we go towards the edges, that's where it might struggle to autofocus because the edges are just naturally warped on the anamorphic. But we go in the center, it's gonna be better at picking me up. Let's try this edge. Oh, it's picking me up right here. Look at that. Still got me, okay. Now we come in and it's doing decently well. All right, so that is the BLAZAR 50mm 1.8 Anamorphic Lens. And let's see if I come to the edges here. Actually, let's go in closer. Performs its best. Okay, it found me on the edge. So let's see how it does on the edge. I'm gonna go all the way. We're kind of on the edge. We're popping out. It's really focused breathing. It's struggling. Oh, lost me. Okay, it found me. It's struggling. Come on, you have a box. Focus on me. Come on, SIRUI. Uh-oh. All right. Oh. But if we go towards the edges, that's where it might struggle to autofocus because the edges are just naturally warped on the anamorphic. But we go in the center, it's gonna be better at picking me up. Let's try this edge. Sony 50mm 1.2. Sony 50mm F8 ISO 320, 4700 kelvins. This is F8 on the Sony G Master 50mm. BLAZAR 50mm T1.8 ISO 200, 4700 kelvins. As you can see, the autofocus is definitely a lot slower. And then the focusing distance is much shorter, so we can't get too close or else it's not going to be able to focus. It'll be too fuzzy. So we want to be at 2.2 feet away to still be able to get the shot. But this is T1.8 on here. And it still looks cool, but
And look how slow it is to change.
it's very slow to change its autofocus. 50mm T1.8 ISO 250, no ND filter on it right now. But this is the autofocus speed to the wide area, and then back to the watch. How fast is it able to autofocus? It's a little faster, right? The public infinity to the watch. Not bad, a little better, but not great. SIRUI 40mm T1.8, SIRUI 40mm T1.8. Is it focusing at all? Focus on the watch. Now back to the world. Oh, a bit faster. Oh, look at that. There's a little bit of focus breathing, but it seems to be much faster than the BLAZAR when it comes to the watch as an object. Whoa, that's impressive. Okay, and if I try to bring it closer, 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 minimum focusing distance obviously is an effect. Minimum focusing distance is about here. Would you look at that? Not bad. F8, SIRUI 40mm T1.8. Okay, it's fast. Oh, now it's like jumping.
Focus breathing is so strong.
Focus breathing is extremely strong. It's like warping on the edges when it focus breathes. It's struggling. It's really struggling. Okay. Locked on, off. Locked on, and off. $50mm Sony 1.2, 50mm ISO 400. BLAZAR 50mm 1.8, BLAZAR 50mm 1.8. ISO 200, ISO 200. White balance 4700 always. SIRUI 40mm T1.8, ISO 200, white balance 4700 kelvins. SIRUI 40mm T1.8, ISO 200, 4700 kelvins. So I'm going to talk about quickly the lens and using them. One thing that I noticed, and Zach specifically noticed, was the focus ring on the BLAZAR. It stops at infinity and stops at 2.2 feet. They're marked with the actual distances. You can see them right here. So it goes and then it stops. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. It goes and then it stops. I don't know if I rotate it here, you can actually see that. It goes all the way to 2.2 feet and then it stops and then it goes to infinity and it stops. And it's marked on both sides, so you can actually easily tell what you're focusing on and the distance. So I really like that. But the downside of the BLAZAR, and I think this was a choice they made, is the T-stops. Actually, there's no locking and there's no clicking. So one thing I noticed is when I was using it, sometimes I'd accidentally knock it if I put it in my bag and it would jump to like a different T-stop, and I had to always double check, was I on 1.8? Like I wish I could just lock it at 1.8, but it's so easy to move and accidentally hit, even though it's kind of engraved a little bit, it's just too easy to move. And there's no gear ring on the BLAZAR as well. And whereas the SIRUI here, see, it has teeth, so it's easy to add a focus ring to this. You don't have to apply anything new. You can apply a focus motor, so you can manually focus it remotely, which is nice, as well as changing the aperture. There's auto iris. It's called iris, and you can feel there's a slight magnetic click, and then as you go through there's no clicks, and that's because there's a switch right here with clicks off, and I can actually turn the clicks on, and now I can feel the clicks. I don't know if you can hear them right there. So that just makes it easier to not make mistakes. I would love to see a locking mechanism for iris, but they don't have that. Over here we do have an autofocus manual focus switch. Lastly, we did a flare test, and in the flare test I just found the flares to be stronger on the BLAZAR. You can get a blue tinted anamorphic, but both of these were natural anamorphic tints, so they're good enough. Not in love, but good enough. And it does look cool if you want to have that cool cinematic flare. I love the flares that we got testing in different scenarios. I have some in my window, some with the sun, and any kind of light at night with like cars and stuff. I think it looks really sick with the flares. But is it worth getting these lenses for that flare? I'm not sure, because you do lose a lot of detail. Now we're going to switch over to the SIRUI lens. and see what Zach's thoughts are.
Okay, first thoughts are the BLAZAR build quality just feel way nicer in your hand. They have more weight. The SIRUI lens cap is like this cheap plastic. I think the image with the SIRUIs is kind of the same deal. Like there's just less resolution. The autofocus struggles a lot. It's like completely unusable in my opinion. The BLAZAR sometimes gets things right when it comes to autofocus. In terms of color, I did notice quite a bit of chromatic aberration on both of them. The BLAZARs have a bit of an orange tint, where the SIRUIs have more of a blue tint. I think the BLAZARs do look somewhat vintage because of that. A lot of older lenses also have more of that orange look, and I think that's what they were going for. There's a lot of, I think it's like halation coming into the SIRUIs, where just overall that makes the image lower contrast. So I think that's why the resolution isn't as great. I don't think autofocus is ready for anamorphic yet, at least at this price range.